Food is the mainstay of life. Without it, life would cease to exist. Now, here is a different type of food, all useful in its place, but not necessarily adequate to supply everyone's needs. It may supply the needs of a man performing light work during the day. Many people find light meals beneficial for brain work. But a man engaged in manual labor would need something far more substantial because he's expending physical energy. Now, turning to animals, the horse needs food for energy to carry out his work. The hen also expends energy in scratching, but her main task is production. Another form of production is wool and meat, which are produced daily as our sheep graze on our pastures. Food, perhaps to many of us, is more often associated with our own meal table than with the requirements of those animals which supply us with food. But we should not lose sight of the fact that our animals, too, need a full supply of balanced food the whole year round. The instincts of motherhood in a cow are so strong that she continues to produce milk even at the expense of her own body. So let us look to her requirements if she is to supply our demands. A milking cow is an animal factory. She converts raw material into food for mankind. If the raw material is in short supply or of the wrong kind, the output from the factory will eventually cease. So it is in the farmer's interests to maintain a correct supply of raw materials for that factory. The best food for a milking cow is green succulent pasture 5 or 6 inches high. Pasture at that stage of growth supplies the average cow with a balanced diet. And by balanced diet, we mean all the ingredients necessary for her milk-making plant. When grass is plentiful, the average cow will eat about 135 pounds a day, meaning that she can eat as much as she likes whenever she wants it. She makes milk by blending together certain ingredients in their correct proportions. But if any of the ingredients she requires are not present in the feed she gathers, she will either extract them from her own body reserves or she produces less milk. Milk produced by a normal healthy cow has 6 main ingredients. Now these are ash, 7.5 pounds, fat, 40 pounds, albumin, 4.5 pounds, milk sugar, 47 pounds, casein, 30 pounds, water, 87 gallons. Mix these together and you have 100 gallons of milk. Now let us select our cow from a herd to show you the material she extracts from the food she gathers. The water content is the whey which runs off when milk sours or thickens. Butterfat needs no explaining, it's known to everybody. Casein is a protein or flesh-forming substance. When milk sours, the casein clots and forms curds. The albumin is another protein, something like egg whites, which are almost pure albumin. The milk sugar comes from the whey and is used for making baby foods. The ash is the mineral content of the milk and is composed mainly of lime and phosphate. A deficiency of minerals in the cow's food will cause a drop in milk production and may lead to a softening and breaking of bones in her body. Bone chewing in cattle is an indication of mineral deficiency in the food. By now you'll realize the tremendous strain imposed on the system of a cow to produce 100 gallons of milk, which any good cow will produce in a month. But we have something to think about when we consider that the average grade cow will produce 500 gallons of milk in any one season. She has to eat enough food to maintain her own body, to build up her reserves for the winter. She has to produce enough milk to make her keep worthwhile, and once a year is expected to produce a calf. To carry and produce a calf takes the same amount of feed that's required to produce 400 gallons of milk. Knowing this, is it any wonder that we often see cows during winter and early springtime in this condition? Because milk is rich in protein, and because a succulent pasture can supply the protein your milking cows require, it is in your best interest to conserve as much of this type of pasture as possible. Grass is food, and no wise man wastes food. But as grass does not grow all the year round, the surplus should be conserved when it is available. For silage, it should be cut whilst in a vigorous stage of growth, and swept in and stored in a stack or a pit the day it is cut. The better the quality of the raw material, the better quality silage you will make. It seems hard to believe that many hundreds of acres of feed like this are allowed to grow rank and become trampled underfoot by stock during peak periods of growth. So why not cut and conserve it? The yield from a paddock when made into silage is 3 times heavier than if the same paddock was cut for hay, because the crop is cut whilst it's in a green and succulent condition, and the material is stacked whilst green and sappy. Stacking green stuff is heavy work, but a small home-built elevator will help take the drudgery out of silage making and help speed up the work. Stack silage is the cheapest way of conserving fodder, because a stack can be built in any paddock on the farm wherever it's most convenient. And one other advantage is that no stack bottom is required. Before you commence to build a stack, cut 2 or 3 spars from the bush and drag them onto the stack site, and then commence to build the stack on top of the spars, leaving 2 or 3 feet jutting out either end. During windy weather, peg a bag rug to the side to protect it from the wind. This helps to prevent the stack from falling over due to uneven heating which may occur. When it is finished, round off the top and weight it with old fencing posts or timber. Next, fasten 2 or 3 strands of number 8 fencing wire to one end of the spars. Then pass the wire over the top of the fencing posts and fasten to the spars on the opposite side of the stack. Now strain on the wires with a wire strainer and keep tightening them 2 or 3 times a day for a week or until the stack has settled. It's only the top 5 or 6 feet which requires pressure to help exclude the air, as the material which is under this is weighted by that which is on top. It must always be remembered that the limiting of the entry of air to a stack is the key to successful silage making. If you wish to keep a reserve of silage on hand, and you have a site on your farm which is suitable, it can be made in a hillside pit or in a trench. If the material is covered with 6 inches of earth, it will keep for years, and when the pit is opened, it will provide a palatable and succulent foodstuff for your stock. Look at this. Could you provide a better and cheaper food for a milking cow than this succulent fodder? About 35 pounds a day is the average ration for a milking cow. Some cows may eat more. And if it's fed in conjunction with chamolia or second growth pasture, your cows will receive all the protein they require for full milk production. Now for another type of conserved fodder, meadow hay. If it is made from surplus pasture, it's one of the cheapest supplementary fodders you're able to conserve. It should form a basis for all rations fed to livestock, but it must be cut long before the pasture has ripened if you wish to make hay of high food value. Cut it when grass is just coming into flower and before the stalk becomes too coarse. And if there's plenty of clover in the mixed pasture, and if it's fielded and cured to retain as much of its green color and also as much of the leaf as possible, that all-important ingredient, the protein, will be retained, and you'll have hay of high food value. Pressing only makes it convenient to handle, for possibly better quality hay can be made loose in a stack where it can be left standing until it's convenient for you to press it if you so desire. But however it is made, it should be kept properly protected from weather and from stock. There's that elevator again, and it's just as useful for stacking bales as it is for handling of green stuff for making of silage. It seems to be saving a lot of hard work here. And now, after you've gone to the trouble of making your hay, feed it liberally, but not wastefully. A cow is the best judge of what she needs to help her produce milk, and she'll eat good hay nearly all the year round. Don't forget the calves being reared on the bucket. They like hay too, just a little each day. Your calves are your cows of the future, and they should be treated as such right through their growing life. A little hay fed each day will help to stop them sucking each other after feeding, and it aids their digestion. On every well-managed farm there's a farmer and a silent partner, and it is to the latter that you owe most of your success. Make 1 ton of good quality early cut meadow hay per cow for this year's requirements, and keep a ton in reserve. Make 2 tons of silage per cow for this year's requirements, and keep 1 ton in reserve, for it's this reserve of fodder which is your silent partner, and it assures the success of your future. Remember, a hungry cow may mean a hungry man. So feed well and live well. Breed only the best and stock wisely. Make every acre produce, and keep your silent partner working. These methods have paid a high dividend for this man, and they can do the same for you.